Hey everyone, welcome back to On the Fence Movie Reviews. I am Adrian, joined by my co-host Rob. Today we are going to be talking about The Eternals. So, The Eternal stars Selma Hayek, Angelina Jolie, Kit Harington, and Gemma Chan, directed by Chloe Zhao. It's a film that's set in the Marvel Universe a few years after the whole Thanos snap. And it's about these celestials who create these immortal beings to fight off these things, these basically like these monsters that are prime hunters called deviants. And they're sent to Earth about 7,000 years ago, and they've been here on Earth living amongst humans, not interfering with any human events, and basically waiting for their time to go home. And after the snap, it provides enough energy to create something called the emergence. And now the Eternals have 7 days to stop the emergence. Rob, let's jump right into it. What is your thought about the Eternals?
Well, Adrian, I like the movie. I thought it was good. It is not without flaw. There are some flaws
Okay.
that I did see in this movie. One, I guess just the major flaw that's going to stick out for me, and I'm going to avoid giving too much away, is I guess the villain in this movie,
Okay.
or villains, however you want to say that. I feel like it was very confusing, that area.
Okay.
I know Marvel villains aren't their strong suit when it comes to,
Yeah.
they have very few villains that, you know, how are strong. So that was one issue I had with it. But overall, I think I'm pretty sure I've said before that I like, Greek mythology, Norse mythology. I
Uh-huh.
like all those, the gods and stuff like that. And this is pretty much Marvel's version of that story, kind of. So I liked all,
Yeah.
each one of them has their own superpower. I like that aspect of it. Everyone in this movie, I feel like, did a really, really good job. Especially she plays Cersei, the actress. I have her name over here. Sorry, I'm like looking up these notes I
Uh,
put down.
I think
Gemma
it's
Chan.
Gemma Chan.
Yeah,
Gemma Chan.
Gemma Chan, and Richard Madden do a great job. And the story kind of, revolves around them a little bit. The characters are, they come in and out, and yeah, but I think they do a good job of leading this film. Salma Hayek, another one that just does a phenomenal job in the role that she's playing.
Yeah.
Kind of the leader. I
Yeah.
would even say like the mother, kind of the mother, the
What do they call her?
overseer.
Like prime eternal or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that. Just kind of the overseer of this group. I think she did a
Yeah.
really, really phenomenal job. Overall, I did like this movie. Again, there's some stuff, more in the spoilerish territory that
Okay.
I don't want to
Yeah.
reveal that I did not like. But as far as the way they bounce back and forth, through time, to show how they were here and how
Okay.
they did certain things, and also even the way they explained how they didn't get involved in certain world events. I think they did a really good job of that, showing why, like, these all powerful beings did not help Earth in its time of, in its several times of need, why they kind of stood to the
Yeah.
side. I think they did a really good job of explaining that story. Just, overall, I liked it. It's not, uh, I wouldn't throw it in my top 10 of Marvel movies, but
Okay.
I think I will definitely rewatch it again. Another thing is, I would say, in the negative, is I felt like this movie went a little too long.
Okay.
If it was, maybe 15 to 20 minutes shorter, I would have think that, that time would have been good, but a little too long for me.
Yeah. I'm on the opposite side of the fence for Alvi, as you are.
Okay.
For me, I didn't. It's weird. I was funny because I was talking with my wife about this earlier about the film because she asked me about it, and
Okay.
I I I was like, you know what? It's kind of this weird cinema purgatory, like where it's neither terrible nor is it great. It just seems to be okay. Like
Okay.
I didn't love it, and but then again, I didn't hate it. Like there was nothing to really hate. I mean, for me, it's just not a very strong film. And it's like the characters, because you're introducing, I think, something like 10 new characters, right?
Right, right.
And you're trying to kind of get us to get on board and care about all of these characters. And well, a lot of times what happens in this film is some of these characters get, pretty much forgotten. I can't remember. I can't remember. See, that's how bad it is. I can't even remember the character, the one who does like all the mind control. His power is to do the mind control.
Oh, it's like
He
something with
he's
the
there.
D.
Yeah, he's there.
Drami or something like that.
It's like Druid or something like that, right? Druid, it's a Druid, something like that, right?
It's like Drug. Yeah, Drug.
Yeah, and he's there pretty much in the first act, and he has some conflict with Ajak, played by Salma Hayek, and like, because again, like what you said, she's the leader, but he kind of starting to question her leadership, and then he basically kind of breaks off from the Eternals, and that's when they all kind of break off and go their separate ways in a flashback scene. And you don't see, and that's pretty much like in the like around the first act, and you don't see him again till pretty much the end, like the third act. And the same thing with Brian Terry, uh, Brian Terry Henry, where he's kind of like the guy that creates tech and machines and all that stuff. And same thing, he just disappears. But it's, for me, I was like, I was more interested in his story, because again, like what you kind of mentioned before, is they try to touch on the idea of them interfering and not interfering, and
Right.
and kind of affecting the development or the evolution, if you will, of Earth and civilization. And him being a tech person, how seeing how the humans use the tech that he's kind of given them and created, that to me was more interesting. But again, they don't
Okay.
really build on that, so they kind of present ideas but then don't ever really build on them. And that, I think, is the biggest problem with this, is the storytelling. So it in a way, it kind of is a love story, because as you mentioned, it's Cersei and Icarus, the two, pretty much their story, and you get to see kind of like most of their history and their kind of how they deal with the situation that they're presented.
Right.
And you get a lot of their backstory, but like the other characters, not so much. So for me, it's just kind of like a little bit all over the place, and I'm not invested enough into the characters, because they don't give me enough to care about with the characters. So by the end of it, I'm kind of like, okay, it, to me, it felt very formulaic. Like there's this thing that they have to do, they have to stop it, then they have to, and then it's this big fight scene at the end. And again, the thing that everybody will always say is that with Chloe Zhao's films, is they're beautifully shot. There's some
Yes.
really great shots in this film, some of the best that you'll see in a Marvel film. And the way she uses lighting and the way she lights the characters and the color palettes are all really strong. But again, those are like the plus. That's like the plus for the film. But the rest of it is just pretty weak, and it kind of feels like a conflicting film. Like it doesn't know if it wants to be this deep, thoughtful narrative, or if it wants to be like that popcorn blockbuster. So there's times where it's like slow moving and beautiful, and then it becomes like that CGI fest. And so for me, it's just a little all over the place. I just couldn't care for it too much. But I don't hate it. I just don't know that I'll want to go back and revisit this film. And that's just pretty much me and how I feel about it. But
Okay. Okay. No,
yeah,
I totally. I see. And here's the thing is when I came out of this movie and I thought about it on the drive home and everything, I like this movie.
yeah,
I was like, I really do like this movie, but feel like that has to do more with my love for, the Greek mythology and all that other
yeah,
stuff. And, Zeus and Hades and, Ares and all those characters. Cause I feel like, this is something similar to that, but,
yeah,
I can understand people coming out of this, and for one, I don't think it feels like a Marvel movie in the sense of, like, I know you were saying like, formulaic, but it just, when I came out of it, it didn't, something about it didn't feel like a Marvel movie. It felt different, and I think maybe that had to do with, I feel like this was maybe one of Marvel's like deeper movies, or at least trying to be
It's trying to
a
be. I
deep
just
emotional movie. That's what I think it was. It was trying to
Yeah,
be.
I think it's trying to be, but it doesn't actually get there. And I think that's the biggest problem for me because I'm on board with all the ideas that they presented. But again, like
Right.
I said, they just didn't go all the way with it. And I think maybe part of it too is the fact that it's like kind of like a team up movie.
Yeah.
And you have these groups of characters that one you have the hurdle that you have to get over is introducing characters that pretty much nobody really knows about and introducing them to an audience and then getting them to care about them and then being able to be invested by the end of it
Yeah.
for me is like you're presenting these ideas I think would have served this film better if it was maybe a two-parter just because I would have loved to have seen more of like the backstory as like kind of like earth and civilization kind of evolves and grows over time and seeing how they interact with that and then continue to show their conflict as humans progress how are they affected with it and then they try to present some ideas of them because they don't really age at all
Right.
and not being able to really kind of have a normal human life so to speak and so again those are some ideas that if they had expanded on and fleshed out a lot better I think this would have been a lot stronger and then again as a two-parter you could do that whole first part and then the second part that's when you can really introduce more of that MCU stuff that you're setting
Yeah.
up with the deviants and everything that they go on with that so again for me it just doesn't fully work.
No, I hear you, and that's why I for this movie. I mean, other times I'd be like, I'll fight you, Adrian. But this movie, I liked it a lot, but at the same time, I understand if someone came out of it saying I don't like it. I'd be like, okay, I get that, I respect that, I understand it. For me, again, I liked it. I see where they're trying to go, and like you were saying too, I feel like they just didn't. They took instead of going the full 10, they went maybe like 5 or 6, where they should have gone all the way if they were. This is some, just a different. I see that they're trying to go a different area or trying to tap into different, different style. And I think what you were saying is correct. If they would have gone all the way and just jumped right in
Yeah.
and went that way, then it would be maybe a better movie. But with saying that, like I still like the movie, even with all its flaws.
So okay, so from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you're saying get off the fence and check out that the Eternals.
Time out, Adrian. This is what I will say. Um, Honestly, for me, yes, I like the movie, but as a Marvel movie, I'm actually gonna say stay on the fence. This is
Okay.
I don't with and here's the thing. This is the only reason I would say check it out in the theaters because you get that huge screen. Like we've seen it in the IMAX, and that's a
Yeah.
huge screen. And there's something about watching a movie in the theater that is different than watching it at home. But honestly, if you're not into that and you could just watch the most epic movie ever on your television or stream it at home, I would just say stay on the fence for right now. I don't think you're not in any need or rush to get out there and watch it right now.
Yeah.
Even with there's a couple of a mid credit scene and a post credit scene. I mean, even those like don't really get me to be like, oh, you should go out there and like I know what they're leading up to and I know what they're doing and where it's going towards. But even with that, I would still say stay on the fence.
Yeah, and I would say the same. Like I would say wait was like probably like 3 months
Yeah.
and it'll be on Disney Plus and watch it there because again, I don't know that I would want to spend the time going back to the theater to watch this film again. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it either. So it's like I think if you're an MCU fan and you want to continue on with the MCU in this new phase 4 and stick with it, I would say definitely check it out because this is where they're going. But overall, I'm not a huge fan, so I would just say stay on the fence, wait for it to come out on Disney Plus. Well, anyways, guys, thanks for watching. But let me know. Do you guys agree with Rob? Do you agree with me? Why don't we comment down below and let us know what your thoughts are, and we'll get that conversation rolling. Also, don't forget to click like, subscribe, and share, and follow us on Instagram at On the Fence Movie Reviews.
And remember, we will catch you on the fence.